Attention pro athletes. Want to secure your financial legacy and thrive off the field? Oakbridge Wealth Management, led by wealth manager Chris Anicetti, is your dedicated financial planning ally. But don't take it from me. Take it from the Dallas Cowboys' Tyler Biadasz. He says, Chris set goals financially and has been incredibly impactful in my journey in the NFL. Experience our customized, comprehensive approach, trusted by top NFL players. Don't leave your financial success to chance. Connect with Chris on Instagram at OakbridgeWM_Anicetti. That's OakbridgeWM_ANICETE, and let Oakbridge Wealth Management guide you across the goal line.
First sheet again, big opening, pass 5, pass 10, Vermont's a man, and he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards of the terror.
Welcome back to the Believe in Badgers podcast on the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.ag and Oakbridge Wealth Management. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
Yeah, buddy, we're good, man. It's Ohio State, weekend. It's exciting. We brought back one of my favorite people, AD, listening all week to Biggie Smalls, just to get in the mindset of what we got into for no reason that I'm just going to stand in the stadium. But Anthony Davis joining us again, man, I am so excited to hear your thoughts on our offense, what's going on, and Ohio State, just a build up, because we had a lot of success against them.
Yeah, absolutely did, man. I'm super excited to join y'all today, and always a pleasure, Bern. You know that, man.
Yeah.
It's great to join y'all and talk a little Badger football. I'm excited about the game as well. Just it's been an interesting year, a transition year, getting used to a new philosophy, dealing with some injuries as a fan, and just being patient and trying to wait for things to come to fruition. So, yeah, for sure.
Well, we appreciate you being here as always, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. We want to remind everyone that we're presented by BetOnline.ag, where they continue to be your number one source for all of your online sports wagering needs. You name it, they've got it over there at BetOnline. Head on over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV, BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's get into it and talk sort of about the first half of the season in the offense, AD, because it seems to be working in fits and spurts. And we want to know just sort of what you've seen in the first, in the first half of the season here for the Badgers on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think what I've seen is inconsistency. What I've seen is not being the most disciplined in terms of penalties, in terms of, making the plays, and so I'm being patient, right? Because, I think everyone here is air raid and they're like, okay, this is going to be 400 yards a game and, ball's going to be flying all over the field. And, just understanding that it takes time to implement a completely different philosophy that, really, really is different than what culturally we've been accustomed to in Badger football. I think that, so for me, that part of it I'm being patient with. The part that I feel like I'm not being patient with is, when we're getting stupid penalties, right? When we're killing drives with stupid penalties, when we are not making catches that we should make, especially when we got a young quarterback or a quarterback that's struggling or the offense is struggling to get a rhythm. We can't leave balls on the field. We can't leave balls on the field. And so that part in terms of execution, I think, we need to be accountable. But in terms of the scheme, in terms of the ball flying around, I think I'm being a little more patient there. But the other part is it hasn't been pretty, right? Like we know it has not been pretty. I'm excited about what it could be once we get it running and rolling, So I do think some key injuries kind of hurt us as well. Losing Malusi, I think, is a huge one. I really felt like he was a game-changing type of back. I felt like he was explosive, very good in space, and so really a good complement to kind of the downhill running style that Braylon brings to the table. So not necessarily having that, it just I think hurts the offense too, because you need you need that change of pace. You got the guy who can come downhill, and Braylon, once he gets ahead of steam, is a load to bring down. But you got a guy who, you throw it to him in the flats out in space, he can make somebody miss. He can make safeties miss. He's a different style of runner that I think keeps the defense is off balance, doesn't let him get accustomed to one style. And so I definitely think we're feeling that.
Hey, do you bring up a lot of good points on the offense, which, I mean, obviously why we always ask you. I think the penalties are killer because scheme doesn't affect your ability to block somebody or pass block. And it's not like you're asking tackles to run out and block corners and hold those guys. You're asking them to just do their normal blocking. So I think that is really frustrating I agree with you. When you're watching, penalties are killing our drives and drops are killing us.
Yeah, I actually wanted to interject right there about the penalties. So go over to PFF and you look at the penalties for this offensive line, and it's bad. Jack Nelson has 8 penalties in 7 games. Riley Mahlman has 5. Tanner Bortolini has 4. Both Trey Wedding and Michael Furtney have penalties. Like, it's a lot of the offensive line that is killing drives and killing momentum a lot of time with penalties. That's one of the really frustrating things, because while the blocking's been inconsistent, there's been one consistency, and they've been consistently getting penalties, and that's not where you want to be consistent.
No.
And going against Ohio State, you cannot do that. Like, we have to be locked in completely. But AD, so we lost Ches Malusi. That dude was fantastic. I think he was a perfect mold of the offense. I still love Braylon. I think he's fantastic. Different runner, right? Downhill, he's going to make somebody miss, but he's going to get behind blockers and do his thing. How do you think you would have fit into this offense?
I think I would have enjoyed it. I think the offense creates some natural running lanes, and I'm like, I was always a guy who, if I got a good lane, I felt like I could eat up a good chunk of yardage, if not go the distance. So I do think that it would have fit well. Obviously needed to work on being a better receiver, but I definitely feel like being in space and getting some of those running lanes would have definitely fit well. And the few times that we did do read zones and things that, from the spread look, I felt like we had some success with it. So.
I think you would have been awesome. I think, you know why? Because you were so good at getting on the lineman's heels and disappearing pretty much behind those guys and getting linebackers flowing. Do you remember that cut you had? And your jump cuts were outrageously amazing. Do you remember that jump cut you had at Oregon? It was the most beautiful thing. Out of the shotgun, we hardly did it. Dude, you ran for 70 yards. I was at the towers and watching it, just cheering my leg. But I think, without a fullback, but see what I think is dynamic about you is with a fullback or without a fullback, you can make it happen. Because at Ohio State, we did a lot of fullback stuff and it wasn't working in the first half. And we went to 12 personnel and you had some long runs off of some handoffs outside, which was really exciting. And then we put in the fullback in 2004 and just pounded them. What do you think are some keys? Let's transfer right into Ohio State, because this gets me. I'm so amped this week. I'm going to be pumped. What was it like do you remember what it was like leading up to the games? We just finished whatever game that was on Saturday. We had either the run on Sunday or we had the day off. Do you remember what it was like leading up to those games?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that for me personally, man, the O State week, it always meant a little bit. I'm going to say it meant a little bit more to me, but, I remember being a true freshman and they came into the camp. And I remember two things stuck out to me, right? That we lost a game, but one, the running back at the time, he breaks like a 40-yard run, and in the middle of his run, his shoe comes off. And somehow he still scores, right? And I just pissed me off. I'm like, that's disrespectful, low key. And then the other thing was that after the game, they started dancing on a W. And that was always just implanted in my head. I'm like, it's always with some bad blood with those dudes. And I'm like, man, there's no way we're going to lose to these guys. I mean, I really wanted to beat them, and so I always remember Coach talking about how fast they were going to start. I always remember Coach, he just had the perfect formula for them. And I always remember him telling us not to get caught up in all the great players that they've had in the program, which was, to me, was like, okay, easy. You know what I mean? Not playing Eddie George, don't care about the big cat, or, those are great players, much respect to them. But, the guys who show up on the field are the guys that's going to have to deal with us, and we got to deal with them. So was really able to lock in, and we did have some good success against them. But yeah, I do remember it being like the urgency and, coach continuously saying, hey, these guys are going to start fast. They're going to make big plays, but there's going to be one moment in the game where they're going to mess up. You know what I mean? And to just take that moment and flip the momentum and never give it back. And that's pretty much how most of the games went. The one game we lost to them was the year they won the national championship. And I still, in my heart, believe we should have beat them.
We should have beat them in 02.
We beat them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we were a young team, though.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the skill positions. Well, not everybody, but it was you, me. We were young. The O-line was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think we got better and better, obviously.
Lee was out that year with a knee injury. And so we had a lot of young receivers who were just now starting, who were coming into their rhythm. But, yeah, I definitely feel like even with all that said, we really still should have beat them, so.
Oh, man, we should have beat them. So I remember I'm trying to think. I just felt like when we walked in and sat in that team meeting on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, all the coaches are like, no, we got this. You guys are going to be the best. You're going to play the best you've ever played. Like, they instilled this chip confidence on your shoulder that was like, you guys aren't going to have a bad game, bad practice. Watch this film. Watch 2000 when Ron Dane did it. We were down, 14-0. We watched that, 41 points in the second half. Like, we watched clips upon clips upon clips of success. Yeah. And then you really start believing it. At least I did. I was like, man, these guys could be the best team in the world, and I believe we can do it. Yeah. Do you remember in 04 they made those T-shirts? I'm in, I'm on.
Yeah.
I wish I could find that, but I definitely threw it away. But Coach White was teed up the whole time.
Oh, yeah,
ready. I don't know. I'm just excited because if we bring any of that, if we bring the fourth quarter Illinois game to this week, I think we have a good chance of keeping it competitive and winning. I mean, listen, crazier things have happened at Camp Randall.
Absolutely. And I do think that I expect the quarterback, I expect Locke to make a big jump this week. I think that, of course they're going to have some great corners, but I expect them to make a big jump. I think his stats were pretty deceiving last week. I think there were some balls left on the field that should have been catches, and even some that could have been, possible touchdowns. So I do look forward to seeing him make a big jump. I'm really, seems like Pauling on the receiver side is starting to come, cement himself as the guy. But I'm waiting for the rest of the receiver group to really show up. I'm like, C.J. Williams, I'm waiting for him to kind of have his breakout game as heavily touted as he's been. Waiting for Skylar Bell to be a little more consistent. I think he's capable of having some big games. So looking for him to have a breakout campaign. I mean, I think the cool thing about the offense is that at any given time, somebody can go crazy. One of any of these receivers can go crazy, and I'm just waiting for somebody to just go crazy. DK, I mean, he's definitely a leader on the team, and he's got to play his best football, in order for us to win. So,
yeah, and drops have definitely been an issue with this team. At the receiver position, at the tight end position, just going through some PFF stuff today. Rucci has dropped 30% of his targets. That's not a great sign for anyone. And yeah, like you said, there's a bunch of receivers who have multiple drops again. And when the offense seems to be, stagnating, sputtering, those drops and those penalties, like we talked about, are just absolute killers. And I think for the game this weekend, they really need to come through big for Braden Locke in his second career start and a really, really big one. What did you see out of Locke, AD, this past weekend that makes you either excited or nervous or both?
What makes me excited about him was that he's not afraid to make the big throw in the big moment. On that pass that he didn't connect with DK on, I thought the throw was there. I thought his thought process was great. I thought that, had DK caught that pass, it's a touchdown, or it's a big gain or a touchdown. The slot fade that he threw, I think that was Bell who caught that. I thought that was a great throw. I thought he put the ball on the money, and we needed him to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that he's got poise. You've already spoiled us and showed us that you're capable, and now you just got to do it consistently. So I'm excited about him. I don't think he's afraid to toss the ball around at all. And really the other Rucci, we need to put him in there. I mean he made one of the most athletic catches of the game as a freaking, is he a defensive lineman?
No, he's an
offensive lineman. Yeah.
The offensive lineman gets in there and makes an athletic catch. I could hear Coach White, talking about apexing the football and the highest point, getting the ball at the highest point, and he gets in there and does that. Shockingly enough, but I do think some of those crossing routes that we missed had some bad, some drops. We got to clean that stuff up, because we know that they'll score, right? They're going to score points. We got to be able to score as well, or sustain drives.
Yeah, I think the AD, that to me is one of the biggest points. We have to stay on the field on an offense. We have to. We have too many 3 and outs. I mean, we had 17 third downs in both games. It's a lot of third downs. We got to start getting some first downs on first down and second down, so we're not in third down. And I think we have to be manageable third downs. I don't want them to play. I think we have to play attack football the entire game and say, Braden Locke, we have a full week of coaching with you, and I am the offensive coordinator. I'm going to coach to you. You like to throw deep balls? Because I remember sitting in there, AD and Coach White would be like, hey, AD, what plays do you like?
Yeah.
And you told him, do you like the zone? He's like, well, Ron Dane liked this inside the 22 zone. You're like, I don't like that. All right, cool. We'll do the 24 zone or whatever, whatever you like. So I think there has to be some communication to say, hey, Braden, you're a different dude than Tanner. What do you want to see? And the one guy you didn't mention, I love Green. I think he could have a breakout game because nobody ever pays attention to him.
Yeah.
And he's athletic. And I think so we have like 10 guys who could have breakout games this week. And if any of them do it, we have a chance. If DK has a touchdown on special teams and somehow we have a long pass, that to me is a good ingredient.
Yeah, and I always feel like there's certain guys who it's different when they make a play. You know what I mean? Like it just energizes the rest of the group. You know what I mean? I really would love to see DK make some big plays. I feel like it's different when those guys make a play. You know what I mean? It just energizes the rest of the group. And I think it's wide open for somebody to step up. And I'm like, come on, man, this is going to be a primetime game, O State. What the hell do you come to play D1 football? Why you come to the Big Ten? This is the game you want to play in. I mean, this is, come on, somebody can get out there and really make a name for themselves, really, put the offense on their back. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
There's a reason we still talk about David Gilreath like every single time because that is a signature play in his career in the Ohio State, Wisconsin, legacy. Like that is one of the biggest plays because it's under the lights against, a ridiculously good Ohio State team, number 3 team. Again, like Ohio State comes in ranked in the top 5. Attention athletes. Do you want a frictionless and tailored financial planning experience to secure your future? Well, look no further. Introducing Oak Ridge Wealth Management, the premier financial planning firm for professional athletes. Led by wealth manager Chris Anicetti, our team provides a unique and comprehensive approach, ensuring your financial success both on and off the field. We understand the unique challenges you face as a professional athlete, from managing cash flow habits to planning major business purchases and navigating complex contracts. That's why we've developed a proven process, working closely with our strategic partners to provide seamless solutions for your unique financial journey. Our services evolve with your career, offering short, mid, and long-term goal setting, portfolio optimization, real estate investments, and more. As you transition to life beyond the field, we support you with career development and philanthropic ventures. But don't just take our word for it. Top NFL players like Chase Boulier, Tyler Biadasz, Alec Ingold, and more trust Oak Bridge Wealth Management to guide them towards financial success. Troy Dye of the Minnesota Vikings says, I really love the work that Chris and the rest of the Oak Bridge group do. I especially like the honesty and transparency when it comes to setting up financial goals and plans that best fit my needs and situation. It's time to elevate your financial game plan. Connect with Chris on Instagram at OakBridgeWM_Anicete. That's OakBridgeWM_ANICETE. And join the winning team. The thing that makes me nervous, I guess, on the offensive side of the ball, I do want to talk about defense here in a second. Going back to the offensive line, Ohio State has some really, really good pass rushers, most notably JT Tuimoloau, who is probably one of the 3 or 5 best pass rushers in the entire country. What do you do with an offensive line that has struggled with penalties and some pass protection against guys like that, AD?
I would say we need to do some quick routes, some routes that are going to kind of slow them down a little bit. If we can swing the ball out on the perimeter, I think, again, having Malusi would have been a totally different game plan, because I really like him on those swing routes or some of those quick passes, to slow down the pass rush. You can screen off of them if you need to kind of slow them down, giving the quarterback some high percentage timing throws so that we can get the ball out. I think there's some things we can do to try to, offset some of his pass rush. I mean, their pass rush period is pretty solid. So, and I watched a little bit of their game against Penn State, and so they really had the quarterback. The Penn State quarterback didn't play his best game. I'll say that. So,
well, and Penn State wasn't even trying to push the ball downfield was the other thing. So they sort of didn't have to worry about that, and they kept bunching up to the line of scrimmage. So I think it's important for Wisconsin to force the ball downfield, even if they're not going to get completions or pass interference penalties, to have to respect the deep pass to allow for Braylon especially to have a little bit more in terms of the running lanes. But speaking of running lanes, one of the things that Bernie and I have lamented a lot here in the first part of the season on the defensive side of the ball is run fits, especially for the linebackers. What is sort of your takeaway from this switch to the 3-3-5 AD in the first half of the season? What do you like, and what do you want to see improvement on?
Okay. I'm trying to think of my diplomatic answer.
No one said you have to be diplomatic here. No one said you have to be diplomatic.
I'm still adjusting to the 3-3-5. I think that right now it's not necessarily playing to our strengths. Maybe it will though against a team like O State that's going to spread the ball around and But I think sometimes it doesn't put. Our linebacker play hasn't been super consistent, and I realized that we've been rotating some of our better players out of the lineup, and I'm like, okay, something's going on. Right now, Hunter Waller has been the most consistent person I've seen on defense. I like him. I like his versatility with this defense. He can play around the box. He can, he can play safety. He can play around the box. He can tackle. He can rush the passer. I think he's one of the most versatile players that we have. Other than that, in terms of the front seven, I haven't really seen anyone step up and kind of be a difference maker. Everyone is kind of they're doing their jobs. But I've not been. I thought we would be a little bit more stout against the run at this point. And even playing against a 3-3-5, I remember it kind of being frustrating just based off the scheme that we ran, trying to figure out who was going to be the read key, but. That was our old offense, and now, against a spread offense, which I'm hoping that that's the intent of this defense is to put a quicker, faster front seven on the field that can defend some of the RPO stuff. But I just have not seen a lot of personality in the defense. I have not seen a lot of confidence in the defense. I have not seen a lot of edge. Would be probably the word. I'm like, I want to see a little more edge, you know what I mean? And maybe it's, we're still learning this scheme and getting accustomed to it, or maybe we just don't have the guy who's going to bring that and enforce it. So
I think it's probably all of those things that you just mentioned. I think our scheme is not conducive to the players that we have right
yes,
now. And I think, we're missing an edge rusher, which these guys were always like interior 3-4 guys, right? The guys we have now. So that was for 4 years. Now some of them are, you're how to transition to a different defense must be very difficult. We think it's so easy, but it's not that easy, right? Like these guys have to learn everything new.
I mean, like CJ Getz is in his 6th year. He spent 5 years doing something different in the other defense, and now he's asked to do something that's kind of similar as an outside linebacker, but not quite. I mean, he's dropping back into coverage more, et cetera, et cetera. And he's actually been really good. I think after Hunter Wohler, he's probably been the most consistent player on the defense, which surprised me because I thought coming into the year he was going to be one of the weaker links.
I think we have good guys. I think we have good guys. I just don't think. I think for the scheme we're trying to accomplish, we don't have the right personnel yet.
Yeah.
And the run fit to me it's been killer because I think we have guys who have been doing things for 4 or 5 years, and it's so hard to snap. You remember when it's like don't have bad habits, but for 4 years you built these habits, and the way you look at football and the way you run through a play, and then you have to break that, and that is very difficult to do. So I'm just hoping. I mean, I think we have smart players. We always do. I just want to see a little bit better of doing your responsibility. That's what I would say.
I'd like to see us put some more pressure on the quarterback. I'm like, even I think the Washington State game stands out to me. I'm like, when we started to pressure the quarterback, we started to play better. We started to stop them. We started to get stops. But, we waited until pretty much the third quarter to start doing that. I'd like to see us get more pressure on the quarterback. And I think most of us have been spoiled watching these games because we've always had an edge rusher, if not two. And we've always been able to dial up blitzes and packages that never allow the quarterback to sit back and be comfortable, And now I'm watching a quarterback just sometimes just comfortable. I'm like, okay, this guy's pouring a drink back there. He's back there picking stuff up off the turf, waiting for his reads to come open. Like, let's put some heat on him. So,
and it puts a lot of pressure on the DBs to hold their guys up for 4 or 5 seconds. People are going to be open. We've all played just regular football in the playground. Like if you give somebody 5 seconds, somebody's always open. 4 seconds, somebody comes open. It's just natural.
Yeah, and I think against O State, I mean, what they've traditionally beat us with is crossing routes. I mean, it's the really simple. They run deep crossing routes all the time and just wait for their guy to outrun us. And so that's. I mean, you got to look for the crossing route. You know what I mean? That's what they're going to do. They're going to put their best receivers inside, run deep crossers, and at some point try to get the ball to them in space and hope they got to step on our guy. If we don't throw off, if we don't disrupt the quarterback's rhythm or routine or put pressure on them, that's exactly what they will do. They'll throw deep crossers and just let the receivers run. So.
And then what happened last year was that Wisconsin adjusted to that, and they just killed them with Cade Stover, the tight end. Like Stover, the tight end last year was, one of the best games he's ever played in his career. And
I remember that game.
He was unstoppable. And so I think they have to worry about that a little bit this year. The other thing that I think concerns me about the defense is that tackling has been very inconsistent. There's a lot of missed tackles on this team. If you go and look at the PFF missed tackle percentages, they have 4 of their top snap getters are all 24% or above in missed tackle percentage. So, that means 1 out of 4 tackles they're missing. And that is with a light defense, right? Only 6 heavier players because you're always playing 5 defensive backs. That's a problem. That's a real problem. All the missed tackles. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the defense has struggled, because even if they get there, even if they get to the guy, they're still getting, they're not making the tackle, letting the guy get further. We saw that with Luke Altmaier last week, the quarterback, who seemed to slip a bunch of tackles from a bunch of different players. And, this week, Kyle McCord, the quarterback for Ohio State, is not the same type of runner that Altmaier is,
Mhm.
but he's definitely more accurate passer. And ththose athletes that Ohio State has out in the open field are going to make a lot of guys miss, which is what you worry about.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things that, like, regardless of scheme, like, you got to tackle people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you come out there in the Bears defense. I don't care if you come out there like the '85 Bears or whatever you want to run. But you got to tackle people. There's no excuse for missed tackles. So it's at this point you question, okay, what's driving the guys and what's getting them to play their best football. And I think the point you made, Bernie, about this being, them having to change habits, change the way they look at things, and especially not achieving success right away in the new scheme, I think I would imagine is discouraging too. So I'm hoping we can make some big plays on defense early in the game and, play with some energy and some passion. Otherwise, yeah.
Dude, what do they say? Football is all about blocking and tackling.
Yeah, the basics.
That's all the camps you ever go to are block and tackle. So we need to block and tackle.
Yep.
I'll sum this up. Obviously, I think everyone whoever listens to this would say we have to play penalty-free football. We have to literally push a little harder. This is Ohio State, but this is Madison at night. We've beat them at night almost all the time. Yes, enough that we should come in with a chip on our shoulder. I think with the way we played against Illinois, if we start that way, we have had success. There's no reason that guys can't catch a football off of Ohio State guys. They're not they're just human beings as well. Yes, they are number 3, but I would come in and just be violent and just say, I'm not letting this dude, no matter who this guy, he's the number 1 dude out there. Good. I want to be the number 1 guy. So guess what? I'm going to try to blow this guy up every play. And then we could do it. And we need 1 or 2 miracle plays. We need a Lee Evans. We need a Gilreath. We need a pick 6. We need a fumble return for a touchdown. We just need something to get us. We need a big, like a Brandon Williams return, for 60 yards. We need some of those things. We need dudes to go up and get a ball over guys.
Yeah, man.
We need Marvin Harrison Jr. to twist an ankle. We just need some. I don't want him to do that. I don't want that. But we need him to get off his game. We need to put the fear of God into people who are running around on our field. And that's what I think we're missing, but we can do it. We've seen that we can be successful. So I hope the coaches are just preaching that and just saying, you guys, the way we thought we could win is the way that these guys, I hope, come into that game and say, listen, we got nothing to lose. Let's just do it.
Yeah, man. I'm just laughing. Every time you say B. Will, man, I just think about him at O State, man. Oh, man, some funny times, man. This guy.
So we just need a Dantes on the field.
Yep. B. Will he would never stop talking. What I mean? Bro, get back to the huddle, man. Come on, get your ass back to the huddle, man. Come on, man. He would just be in their face the whole game. That's the type of attitude I think we need to take into one of these games is confident and cocky, an edge. We don't care who you are. We don't care how many first round picks you got on your team or how many, bowl games you've won, or we don't care about any of that stuff. We're just going to come and punch you in the mouth and then go home and celebrate it. That's the type of attitude we need.
And you need some leaders. I feel like we have a lot of silent leaders and we don't have a couple of those vocal guys that, yes, it's obnoxious sometimes, but a B. Will, a Dantes, guys who, even Antosh, dudes who would scream at people for making mistakes, who would also get in people's faces. It brings an energy. These guys didn't get penalties on the field. They just did these things. Dantes, when we ran on the field in 2004, ran right to he told people he was going to do it and he did it. And then we had basically they emptied both of the benches. It was awesome. To imagine coming into now you're an Ohio State guy. You're who the hell are these guys? How do these guys think that they should be here? And all we did was think we should be on that field. We knew we should be on that field.
In 2004, one time, coach threw a little swing pass. I caught the pass. And they had a big safety, Nate Sally. He comes downhill. I put my head down and just rocked him. You know what I mean? He tackled me, but I gave him a good blow, right? May have gotten 3 yards. B Will runs over and is in his face on like standing over him like he made the play. And then like we got a big gain. And I'm like, come on, bro, that's 3 yards. That's what we doing that all game. All game. Yeah, he was going crazy. And I'm just like, that's the type of energy and enthusiasm we need. Sometimes I just feel like we play flat, you know what I mean? And we play flat, you know, and like when I think of those type of leaders that you mentioned, I think of like a Chris Ord, right? Like a Chris Ord who's that type of vocal leader, going to set a different standard for everyone on the field. When I think of swag and edge, I think of like a Leo Chanel, like, you know, with the big death row written on his arm in Sharpie or whatever that was. Like, you know, I think of that type of edge that we need in order to really get to where we need to be on defense, man. So
I think Herbig and Benton brought that edge last year, and we haven't seen that replaced. Herbig had that since he was a freshman. Other guys even talked about it, right? Like, he was different. He was yelling at dudes as a true freshman that they weren't working hard enough, and he was outworking them. And that was one of the things that really sort of set him apart. And you see why on your Steelers, AD, he's already making an impact at the NFL level, which I know you love to see. So, two things we're going to get out here on. First, prediction for this weekend's game for the final score, AD.
I'm going to go 24-17 Badgers.
All right. I love it. Bernie and I gave our predictions over on our last episode with the two guys from OSU. Shout out to Chimdy and Bryant. We had a lot of fun with them. If you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend going back to listen to that. And what I want to get you out of here on, though, AD, I'm going to put you on the hot seat just for a second.
Okay.
We had Joe Thomas on earlier this year. He gave us his top five running backs in the history of Wisconsin. And you were one of the 5.
Okay.
So what we want is AD's top 5 running backs in Badger history.
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. All right. My top 5. I'm going to exclude me, and I'm going to put because I couldn't see me play technically, but I'll say I like JT.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with my man BC. I really like BC's game. He didn't have, he wasn't there. He was there a season, I think, and then he left or whatever. But I like BC. Got to go with RD. So that's 3. Who else? Let me see. Ooh.
I'll throw out some options here for you.
Tough. I'm gonna go with Monty.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Monty Ball.
So some remaining options: Melvin Gordon, James White, Corey Clement, Brent Moss, PJ Hill, Michael Bennett.
Big play, John Clay.
Big play.
Big play Clay. I saw him at homecoming, man. It's good. Yeah. Always good to see big play Clay, man. That's tough, man, because what I have a bad habit of is looking at whose game I think is like could be successful anywhere. You know what I mean? And so, that's a tough one, man. If I could probably tie Mike B and Melvin, I probably would tie them. Or interchange either one of them. Mike B was another guy who didn't have like a bunch of seasons, but if you saw some of the playmaking ability the guy had was just like, it could be like 5 carries and 180 yards because he busts a 90-yarder.
Dude, I think he's the fastest player ever, fastest running back ever at Wisconsin.
Yeah, he had legit,
legit 10 flat 100 scheme.
Yeah. This dude had his calf muscles were like, this dude is just 2 big calf muscles with like arms and like, a torso. But he was ridiculous in terms of making plays. Melvin too. I think Melvin was amazing. Obviously, he had one of the greatest seasons I feel like of any Badger running back. You know what I mean? And he was amazing to watch too. But either of those 2 guys, man, and that's tough, man, because Jay White, I feel like, was super solid, versatile. Him and BC were very similar in terms of being versatile, in terms of understanding the entire what's happening around them, the whole offensive scheme. But yeah, those are my five. I think I'm gonna go with.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. And I think that's a great place for us to wrap it up here today. Everyone's got meetings to go to. So we appreciate you guys taking the time. We appreciate everyone tuning in wherever they are to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by betonline.ag and our friends over at Oak Ridge Wealth Management. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Get to the
Dito,
stadium
I love
early,
you, man.
fill up the student section.
Yeah, right.